Did you know that on May 28, 1830, the Indian Removal Act was signed into law? President Andrew Jackson authorized the forced relocation of Native American tribes living east of the Mississippi River. The act targeted the Cherokee, Creek, Seminole, Chickasaw, and Choctaw nations. This led to the infamous Trail of Tears, where thousands died from exposure, disease, and starvation. Today, the Trail of Tears is remembered as a tragic chapter in American history. Understanding this history is crucial in acknowledging the resilience of Native American communities. Remembering the Trail of Tears. Don't forget to subscribe for more historical insights.
President Andrew Jackson signed the Indian Removal Act in 1830. The act authorized the removal of Native American tribes from their ancestral lands in the southeastern United States to Indian Territory in present-day Oklahoma. Legislation impacted the Cherokee, Creek, Choctaw, Chickasaw, and Seminole. Davy Crockett, Henry Clay, and others opposed the law. The Cherokee Nation challenged the act in court and won a favorable ruling in Worcester versus Georgia, but Jackson ignored the decision and proceeded with the removal. The law resulted in the Trail of Tears and thousands of deaths due to disease, hunger, and exposure. The desire for Western expansion, gold, and land motivated the law's passage, even though it violated treaties and agreements with the Native Americans. Andrew Jackson defended the removal by saying it will enable them to pursue happiness in their own way.
This was touched on in school, but do you know the full story behind the Trail of Tears? In 1830, the US passed the Indian Removal Act, leading to the forced relocation of Native American tribes. Families torn apart, sacred lands lost, thousands perished on this tragic journey, known as the Trail of Tears. It's a somber reminder of the cost of injustice. Let's remember their pain and honor their resilience.
Shalom, giving all praises, honor, and glory to our power, Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shah, Bahasham, Rachak, Wadash. Double honors to the apostles, the bishops, and the elders here at Millstone. Peace and blessings to the hopeful elect of the tabernacles of David, scattered throughout the four corners of the earth, whomever you may be, and wherever you may be. Shalom, Yahshua. Shalom. All right, we're going to get into something real quick here. Nothing too heavy. I thought I was going to upload on my other page. I'm not sure if it's going to be later or tomorrow, or maybe I'm just wrong. And apparently I'm on a 2-week strike. That remains to be seen. I'm not sure right now because I definitely just try to upload. I think I uploaded something quick, a little current state, little news there. And said I still had a community guideline strike. So I'm not sure if I was on a 1 week or 2 week strike. Doesn't really matter. We're going to continue doing the work. But, you know, there's so much going on right now, so many different topics. And I thought just to not to go too far off of what we've been doing as of late, to just do something real quick, because we know everybody's going to worship this Turkey Day, this thing's killing. All right. And I refuse to do that. We all do, because we're all on one accord, because we understand the history behind it and what it really truly stands for. And it's pretty much a pagan holiday, as well as all these pagan holidays. And as I say always, you want to find out who your pagans are. Find out the ones that do these holidays. There's your pagans. Doesn't matter if they're Israelites. Those are your pagans. So this is from historic article. It's probably from National Geographic, because that yellow rectangle up there looks real familiar. I'm not sure. It never said it in specific, but it's probably there. So it says May 28, 1830 CE, Indian Removal Act. On May 28, 1830, Congress passed the Indian Removal Act, beginning the forced relocation of thousands of Native Americans in what became known as the Trail of Tears. All right, and this is a subject that is talked about in school, and it's one of the few factual subjects that I talked about in school. And but why is that? Because we know the Banky families, they run that system. They own those schools. They command what's being taught, you know, in these school systems by way of the textbooks, you know, in your curriculum, every course, every semester. So we know that they put things like that into the curriculum to boast themselves, right? This is what I did to the Israelites, or any other nation for that matter, but we don't give a damn about the other nations, all right? So this is history that they can boast about of themselves, of what they've done to the Lord's people, all right? But there's a recompense, a payback for these things, man. So it says here, we're gonna read. It says on May 28, 1830, the United States Congress passed the Indian Removal Act, marking the government's clear-cut push to remove Native American tribes from east of the Mississippi River. Okay, and the tribes of Reuben and the tribe of Gad are Israelite tribes, all right? The Reubenites, the Gadites. So these so-called Native American Indians, all right? Some call them indigenous people, whatever the world, terms them as, all right? These were Israelites. These are our brothers and sisters, okay? Some of us actually have that that particular background, all right, from that particular tribe, from those, So it says, marking the government's clear-cut push to remove Native American tribes from east of the Mississippi River. The Indian Removal Act opened land that indigenous peoples had previously called home to white settlement and the expansion of slavery, further codifying injustices at the federal level that had long been underway. By the early 1800s, the U.S. federal government and several state governments had already frequently pushed indigenous tribes farther and farther west. Violence, threats, deception, and legal agreements, often treaties, were tactics used to transfer indigenous held land to white people, who are actually the Edomites of the Bible. When you read about Amalek, all right, those people today are your little your propeller hats over there in the land named the State of Israel, okay? And the Edomites in general as a whole are the so-called white people of the earth, right? So it says, though there was significant Native American resistance, many of these earlier efforts at ethnic cleansing were successful. These anti-indigenous policies, coupled with the spread of diseases transmitted by settlers, had severely decreased the population of indigenous peoples in North America. However, there was still a substantial indigenous presence east of the Mississippi River. Tribes living in what is now the U.S. Southeast at the time included Cherokee, Choctaw, Chickasaw, Muskogee or Creek, and Seminole. All right. It says by the 1800s, these nations were known collectively as the 5 civilized tribes because they had adopted aspects of white, which is bullshit. Okay, they were civilized before the so-called white man came. It was just that they weren't eating, they weren't buying what they were selling. Okay, and so he ran around terming different people barbarians and stuff like that, and really he was the wicked devil. All right, the Bible speaks of. All right, so if we're not doing their ways, and now all of a sudden we're uncivilized, or we're barbarians, or we're this, we're that. All right, demons, man, because they had adopted aspects of white settler culture, pressured by the U.S. government. Many copied the ways settlers dressed, their educational system, their practice of Christianity. All right, who's spreading that Christianity everywhere? You even got heathen nations that'll do Christianity. All right, if I'm correct, in China, if you get caught doing that, there's a punishment. Okay, but that's the so-called white men, the Edomites, pushing their Christianity and their white Jesus around the earth. Okay, it says their use of plantation agriculture and their enslavement of people of African descent. They didn't know anything about plantation agriculture. It was those same tribes, all right, that showed them how to even survive off the land and through the winter. They'd be dead if it wasn't for, our brothers and sisters. It says, in their enslavement of people of African descent going into that southern kingdom, because eventually, this is a long history here, all right, where these conquistadors, these settlers, these pilgrims, these Puritans, all right, these colonizers came over here, and they had history with the Northern Kingdom Israelites. And then eventually, all right, after finding out, gold and resources and things of that nature, all right, like North Carolina here, there's a lot of cotton here, all right, so they went back east and brought, the Southern Kingdom tribes over here, also to the west, all right, those Southern Kingdom tribes being Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, the so-called Negroes, West Indians, and Haitians, and brought them over here to South Central and Northern America, and we all were injected into slave labor, all right, free labor off these devils, man, and they got to pay for that. So it says, originally, enslavement by Native Americans was not the same as that practiced by white settlers. Being enslaved was not an inherited or permanent status, the enslaved could be adopted into the family. This changed as the cultures and beliefs of the tribes became virtually identical to the United States. Still, the civilized practices of the 5 tribes did not stop the white settlers' growing demands for their lands. Yeah. And they did a lot of backstabbing, a lot of lying, all right, and deceiving to get the land, all right, and take it from the natives, man. It says 2 historic events, the Louisiana Purchase in 1803 and the War of 1812, sped this land grab. The Louisiana Purchase brought the U.S. government the exclusive right to purchase or forcibly take lands from various indigenous governments. Lacking enough funds to pay veterans of the War of 1812, the U.S. government offered them land in what are now the states of Illinois, Michigan, Arkansas, lands occupied by indigenous peoples. As in the Southeast, Native American tribes occupied huge swaths of what the U.S. called the Northwest Territory. Now, the U.S. states of Ohio, Indiana, Illinois, Michigan, and Wisconsin, an alliance of tribes from this region, including the Delaware, Potawatomi, and Shawnee, all right, led by a war chief of the Miami tribe, Little Turtle, had resisted expansion and defeated U.S. forces in 1790 and 1791. And so there's something you could research right there. All right. I don't know if the spirit is on me. I'll pull it up. All right. All you have to do is just grab it and just, pull it up. And there's history there. All right. And I'm pretty sure possibly maybe other brothers will come out, and do some kind of quick, lesson on this. Maybe if the spirit is on them. OK. And, probably bring out even more and better information than I could ever bring you. It says many Native American nations likewise fought against U.S. expansion during the War of 1812, which pitted the United States against Great Britain. The Shawnee, Delaware, Miami, Potawatomi, and Creek among the other tribes allied for this purpose. Under the leadership of Shawnee war leader Tecumseh. From the Ohio Valley, he envisioned a confederation of nations spanning from Canada to the Gulf of Mexico to fight against U.S. territorial expansion. It says similarly, the British wanted to stop U.S. expansion to protect its Canadian territory. To help in this effort, the British fought to keep the Great Lakes under indigenous control. Thus, Tecumseh's alliance joined the British in the fight against the United States during the War of 1812. British forces and the Native Americans provided each other with military support, supplies, and aid. Tecumseh led an effective campaign against the U.S. invasion into Canada and the Northwest Territory, winning several victories, including at Fort Detroit. The indigenous British alliance largely fell apart with Tecumseh's death in battle near Moraviantown, Ontario, Canada, in October 1813. Afterward, Native American military resistance was no longer strong enough to threaten U.S. forces in the region. However, this did not end Native American resistance in the Great Lakes or in other parts of North America. Right, we know the Great Lakes is right there between the top of America and the south border of Canada. It says a series of legal treaties, mostly after violence against Native American communities, preceded the 1830 Indian Removal Act. From 1814 to 1824, 11 treaties were signed that provided the legal framework to redistribute land from southeastern indigenous peoples to whites. U.S. Army officer Andrew Jackson, Andrew Jackass, helped negotiate 9 of these treaties. From 1813 to 1814, Jackson fought alongside the Cherokee in the lower creeks against the upper creeks, known as the Red Stick Creeks. The Red Stick Creeks had allied with the British to maintain their more traditional culture. Jackson also invaded Spanish-controlled Florida to fight against the Seminoles for their role in helping enslaved people escape to freedom. And so you see, you have a devil here who's coming against Israelites for helping other Israelites escape, persecution and flee, and get freedom. So it says Jackass went on to serve as president of the United States from 1829 to 1837, promoting and signing the Indian Removal Act of 1830 into law. Not all members of Congress supported the Indian Removal Act. Tennessee Representative Davy Crockett was a vocal opponent of the proposal. And they'll teach you about Davy Crockett in school too. It says removal of Eastern Native American peoples to west of the removal of eastern Native American peoples to west of the Mississippi River was intended to be voluntary. Some Native American communities complied, others, including many in the nations of the Cherokee, Creek, Choctaw, Seminole, and Chickasaw of southeastern North America, did not take the deal to give up their lands to move west of the Mississippi River. The Cherokee, Creek, Choctaw, and Chickasaw tried to negotiate with white settlers and the U.S. government, offering some lands to remain in place. Most of the Seminole Nation fought against their removal in what became known as the Second and Third Seminole Wars. The Cherokee used the U.S. legal system to fight against their removal. Though they won their case in the Supreme Court, Jackson and the U.S. military did not honor that decision. This forced removal, which occurred throughout the late 1830s, became known as the Trail of Tears. From 1827 to 1838, about 23,000 Creek people were forced into Indian territory, thousands of whom died on the 3-month journey. All right, and that is the biggest portion right there of what we're talking about, man. Those thousands of men, women, children, infant babies, pregnant women that perish. Hey, these devils got to pay back for every single one of those lives, and they got to pay back double. In all, more than 46,000 to 60,000 Native Americans were forced, sometimes by the U.S. military, to abandon their homes and relocate to Indian Territory, which became the state of Oklahoma. This did not include several thousand more people of African descent, those who were enslaved and those who were not. Wait, let me go back because I'm reading too fast. It says, which became the state of Oklahoma. It says, this did not include several thousand more people of African descent. Who's that? That's the Southern Kingdom. Those who were enslaved and those who were not. Nor did it include whites married to indigenous partners. Okay, and you had back in history, an Israelite was found, messing around with a white woman. Hey, the Israelites put to death, man. Okay. So throughout history, we've always had, Edomite women that have liked our men, and even these heathen nations that liked our men. Okay, but it gets deep when you're dealing with the Edomites. Okay, so it says the Indian Removal Act marked the completion of ethnically cleansing indigenous peoples from east of the Mississippi River. In the years that follow, subsequent federal policies will continue to uproot indigenous peoples, clear the way for additional U.S. expansion, and remove Native peoples from their communities. Today, the Trail of Tears is a national historic trail stretching from Tennessee to Oklahoma. It specifically chronicles the removal of the Cherokee from 1838 to 1839. And they give you some, I guess you call them receipts. Website, 1830 Indian Removal Act, the effects of removal on American Indian tribes, how Native American slaveholders complicate the Trail of Tears, narrative, maps, interactive time-lapse map, shows how the U.S. took more than 1.5 billion acres from Native Americans, and that all came from lies, deceit, and backstabbing. All right, all those treaties. All right, and you notice it didn't go in too deep on Andrew Jackson, but hey, he had a very, very heavy hand to play in this, okay? And all those treaties were all broken, every last one of them. Reference on exhibit, the Indian Removal Act. Okay, so that's it on that there. May 28th, 1830, Indian Removal Act, okay? On May 28, 1830, Congress passed the Indian Removal Act, beginning the forced relocation of thousands of Native Americans in what became known as the Trail of Tears. And this was simple. I just noticed that it says grades 5 through 11. Well, I guess, because someone in the 5th grade should be able to understand this just as well as someone in 11th grade. All right, so we hit a few scriptures now. This is Genesis 49:19. It says Gad, which God, all right. In the Hebrew, name actually means troop, okay? It says Gad, a troop shall overcome him, but he shall overcome at the last. And yeah, that's hinting on, different battles fought, all right, with these so-called Native American tribes against these Edomite settlers, all right, so-called white settlers, all right. and they were defeated. All right, and of course we just read that history there, a portion of it, because it goes a lot deeper than what we just read. But eventually, everything leads up to the forced removal of our brothers and sisters in the 1800s of the Indian Removal Act, and leading up to the Trail of Tears. But they will overcome at the last, because Yahweh Shai will come and be that victor for us. All right, all of us tribes. Okay. All right, this is Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 28. I know these scriptures are more so dealing with the southern kingdom, but there's a reason why I want to read Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 28 and 29. So it says, Yahweh shall smite thee with madness and blindness and astonishment of heart. And thou shalt grope at noonday as the blind gropeth in darkness. And thou shalt not prosper in thy ways, and thou shalt be only oppressed and spoiled evermore, and no man shall save thee. And this really goes for all the tribes. No man shall save thee. And what does save mean? Okay. It means what? To save or be saved, be delivered. To be liberated. You see? To be saved in what? In battle, be victorious. All right. A troop shall overcome at the last. All right. Or actually, Gad, a troop shall overcome, but you shall overcome at the last. And ultimately, that really screams to all the tribes, because through Yahweh Shai, all the tribes will be victorious in the last. Even the 2/3, though the 2/3 may have to perish on this side, but even the 2/3, because ultimately they still will be in the kingdom of heaven through the loins of the 1/3, hopefully elect remnant, that were victorious and received salvation. Because all of our people will be in the kingdom, and all of our people will be righteous, and all of our people will get to witness the other nations, especially beginning with Esau, Edom, the horn of our adversaries, being subject under us, as we have been to all these other nations for all these years. All right, to save, deliver, to save from moral troubles, to give victory to, and that's what we're waiting on Yahweh Shai for, to save us, man. Now, if you want to get more history on the Northern Kingdom, we're not going to go into it now. I don't want to sit here too long of a lesson, because that's a whole other chapter in itself. But you can actually read 2 Kings chapter 17. All right. I also, before I read that, I always like to read 1 Kings 11, because it goes to the split of the Northern and Southern Kingdom. And then when you go from, that history of King Solomon, you dealing with the Northern Kingdom, you can go over to 2 Kings chapter 17 and get the history there. And then from there, that history leads you over to the Apocrypha in 2 Ezra chapter 13, where it talks about them coming over here to South Central and Northern America. Oh, there's one more thing, though, before we close up, because I want to get this. Hold up, I spelled it wrong. Yep. All right. So the word Thanksgiving. All right, show you what it's really about, because it ain't about no Turkey Day, what people are doing today. All right, Thanksgiving is basically a celebration of killing Native American tribes. I think all these words are the same. Yeah, so pretty much, so we can just pull up one of them. How y'all doing? All right, so Thanksgiving, the word there is Tawada. All right, Tawada. That's what the word Thanksgiving means, Tawada. All right, it's not about cooking turkey with your family. All right, all these holidays have pagan roots. Okay, every last one of them. All you gotta do is research it for yourself. But the average person doesn't want to do that, and when they do, they still are, inclined to do what they want to do, which is celebrate these holidays. All right, they did 4th of July. All right, they did wicked ass Halloween. They're doing Thanksgiving today. They're going to go and do Christmas. They're going to do New Year's and New Year's Eve, and continue the cycle every single year. All right. But the scriptures tell us from the Lord by way of the mouth of the prophet Jeremiah to learn not the way of the heathens, man. And these holidays have pagan roots. So once again, the word Tawada, confession, praise, thanksgiving, give praise to the Most High. That is what Thanksgiving is about. Tawada, thank you, Lord. Tawada Yahweh Shema Shah. Not about carving up turkeys and eat with the family. Talking about, and this shows you how deep our families and other people are still lost into this world, man. Because they say, oh, it's just this, or it's just that, or it's blah. They always make up a freaking excuse, okay, to never want to understand or hear the truth. But hey, to each his own. Because if the Lord does not have mercy on your family, whether it be your father, your mother, your sister, your brother, your children, they will be destroyed in the coming times, all right, for not hearkening to the words of the Lord by way of the mouths of the prophets, for not seeking out the Lord while they had a chance and changing their ways, all right, and severing themselves from this wicked world and the ways, all right. Arise ye and depart, for this is not your rest. It is polluted and shall destroy you with the sword of destruction. All right, so I just wanted to go into something very light, but at least to hit the topic. All right, and as the elder said earlier this year, can't remember when it was. If I could remember when it was said, I'd pull up the video and edit it and throw that clip in there. But like the elder said, if you're really in the spirit, you'll fast. All praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shah, Bahasham, Rachak, Quadash. Once again, double honors to the beloved apostles, the bishops, the elders of Great Millstone. Peace and blessings to you, hopeful elect of the tabernacles of David, scattered throughout the four corners of the earth. Shalom, Lavachayim, Wabarakatham, Mahabatham, Wababah, Kadabah. Shalom.